You know we like to celebrate extraordinary people up and down the country. Well, tonight I want to shine a light on Dan Flanagan from Sussex, who admits he struggled with fatherhood at first, but rather than giving in, he decided to do something about it, setting up a movement to help other fathers. But had he always wanted to be a dad?
I always wanted to be a dad. I thought it looked a lot of fun. I didn't realise how much hard work it was being a grown-up. And actually, you leave the hospital with this little bundle of joy and they go, right, there you go. There's no rule book. There's no user manual. Try not to kill him. On you go.
And what kind of a dad did you hope to be?
I hoped to be somebody that was engaged, loving, paid an interest. I was brought up by my dad. As a single parent, he looked after me and my three sisters, so I sort of saw a very different side to fatherhood. He was he was in the kitchen, he was doing the school runs and stuff like that, which in the 70s and 80s was quite unusual.
Yeah. How did he cope with that, your dad?
Coping's a strong word. I think he just got on with it with a smile, but it was only, when I became a father myself, years later, I realised all of the stress and heartache and everything that he probably would have gone through. But he just, he was a northern lad, so he wouldn't talk about that sort of nonsense.
Crack on.
Yeah.
Stiff upper lip and all that.
Yeah, he was a war baby. His male role models were, Blackpool builders and stuff like that. I'm not sure they were probably the most emotionally intelligent role model. No disrespect to my forefathers, but, it was a different world that they lived in.
Of course, yeah. So when you became a dad, what did you hope for and what was the reality as far as the difference between new mums and new dads?
Yeah. It was a baptism of fire, I suppose. To be honest, I felt like a bit of a spare part. Even things like the midwife, that was coming round to do the checkups. I was there to make the tea and, not get under the grown-ups' feet. And then as I sort of grew into it, I started to go to mother and baby groups and stuff like that. I'm feeling like a massive outsider. There was simply no support there for a dad. We were expected to do a certain role, i.e. pay bills, maybe tell the kids off. But, if you want to do something a little bit different, even take your baby out on a Saturday, all the changing facilities are in women's toilets.
And how did that make you feel? How were you feeling at the time?
Lost, lonely, embarrassed, guilty, full of shame. I'd look on social media and everybody seemed to have it down pat, but I was struggling. I was also commuting quite a lot. So I'd leave very early in the mornings before my sort of son was awake, get home quite late. If I was lucky, I could do a bedtime story. And then on a Saturday, which is, traditionally a dad day, I'd go down the park or try and find events. And it was lonely. And as a middle-aged man, nobody wants to put their hand up and go, I feel like a Billy No Mates.
Yeah, so you felt like this and you felt like nobody else no other male, no other dads were admitting to feeling like that. So what did you do about it?
I got angry, I suppose, because I was thinking, I simply cannot be the only one. Why is there no support there? There are, I think, 6 million dads of, school-aged children. There's 100 babies being born every hour. Why is society not set up to support us?
So Dan rolled his sleeves up and did something about it. Back now to Dan Flanagan, who is encouraging other fathers to open up about the reality of fatherhood. He runs a group now called Dadless Soul to help other fathers, and this is why.
So I looked around for activities or groups or whatever, and there was nothing. So I took it upon myself. I started a little blog and sort of rallied the cause a little bit. Literally, the blog took off. It turned into an online magazine. We had, at one point, I think 18 different dads from around the country writing their stories. And then I put a post out one weekend to say, look, does anybody fancy a dad play date? And we had 14 dads turn up, 20 odd kids. We took over an old friend of mine's office in Brighton. Very liberal interpretation of health and safety back then, I will admit. But we did DJ workshops, beatbox battles, paid Lego. But what I realised is that the guys that were there, they didn't know each other, but nobody was on their phone. They were actually sat there having conversations. And it was so unusual because the only time I'd ever seen any sort of dads together would be at, some other kid's birthday party. And the mums would be
Or
front and
maybe
centre.
traditionally sport. Dads tend to take children to sport, don't they?
Yes, but even then, that's sort of a little bit later on, and they're on the touchline being angry or competitive. But it's like, if you're at a kid's birthday party, the dads are in the kitchen, the mums are taking over, and we're just stuck having really socially awkward conversations about the match or what car you drive. I don't understand football, and I don't have a car, so immediately I'm on the outside.
Yeah. Well, what does you're doing something about the frustration that you feel. What does your partner make of this?
She's really, really supportive. So the organisation is Dad Lasol. We have pretty much a fantastic army of mum Lasols. So probably maybe 60% of the dads that join us are sort of pushed in there by their partners or their wife saying, look, you need to get out of the house, you need to be doing something, go. They're really lovely, really supportive. I think she'd probably like me to maybe stop having so many creative ideas.
And what kind of feedback have you had from fellow dads who have joined Dad Lasol?
It's been remarkable. I think at last count there was 4,000 of us. We've got Dad Lasolis in New York,
Wow.
New Zealand, Germany, the Czech Republic. And it's a really nice community. And we act almost like a bit of a Trojan horse. So we've got on these amazing events. So Saturday mornings, we'll have our play dates, but rather than going to a church hall and drinking orange squash and the kids are having some second-hand soft play, we'll take over art galleries or tech innovation centres, do stand-up comedy, rap workshops. Kids can run absolute riot for a couple of hours. Dads can have a coffee, maybe open up, make some friends. On Thursday nights, we have almost like a youth club. So we get a range of dads and male carers along, so play VR headsets, have a pint, have a chat, and then we'll bring in different experts or members within the community to tell their stories. So that's been everything from, what men need to know about menstruation and the menopause, getting over addiction, through to, surviving as a victim of childhood sexual abuse. So rather than me saying, putting a post out there, hello, middle-aged men, come over here and talk about your feelings. Damn, that sounds like a terrible night out, if I'm honest. So come over here, have a laugh, make some friends, do some stuff, and then the conversations start.
Oh, Dan Flanagan there doing great work. The group is called Dad Lasol.